So this is me recording now about what I was saying before. All right, so what I was trying, like, now that I saw that Trump and Elon, aka number 2 and number 3, did the signal, I've been helping them out. I want people to understand what I'm about to say next is the real science and how I feel about it. In regards to my dogs, for one, if another dog on my property, right, and this is me saying this with I'm gonna go basically just on principle. If another dog on my property dies, okay, and I don't know what happened to that dog because you did something new and it's not the same symptoms as before, which we all know you've been rat poisoning my fucking dogs, okay? If there's even a new type of symptoms that is not even heard of on Google or anywhere I've researched and know about, right? Let's say hypothetically, right? Even though I know all the symptoms, I've seen all the types of shit, I research all this stuff. Anything that I've seen, I know exactly what it is, okay? So, and I've been through all the Googles and stuff, all the pages, right? All the Google pages is what I mean. Hold on. If something happened to my dogs, again, okay, I would love for number 1 and number 2, aka Donald J. Trump and Elon Musk, to make sure that none of you hoes, none of you Democrats have a single holiday, have a single anything, okay? And we'll just only make it to where there's like Gulf of America Day, Veterans Day, and fucking, what else? America Day, Independence Day, you know what I mean? That kind of shit. We'll have like 5 holidays other than the basic ones. And, it would just be like, there's no more like, you can do parades or something if you have the time to do it, but it's not a whole day dedicated to that shit. There's not a whole Pride Month. There's not a whole Black History Month. Nothing. If we're going to do a month, it's going to be based on, people who helped this country out somehow or something along the lines of that. High level professionals day. You know what I mean? Which are all professionals really, because high level, small level, everybody does something for this country, right? If you're working and whatever. So, you can say that some people don't, whatever, but you know what I'm trying to say. If you do something for the country and benefit somehow, you should have a day. We could just call it Americans Day. That's what I think. That'd be a great one. Americans Day, Day of America is another day where we celebrate just American culture, right? Or American Day, we could do it all in one. Independence Day in another, right? You still have, that's like the day we were free. Then you have, you can have American Gun Rights Day, even. You can have Veterans Day. I would really like it just as like Americans Day in general, so that we support all Americans, so that includes veterans and whoever, and you just kind of talk about veterans throughout those days would be nice. You got, you have like your Memorial Days and stuff like that, obviously. I think, isn't that Veterans? Veterans Memorial Day, All of America Day, where we celebrate people who have died, people, all the different types of Americans of all different types, right, should have a day, right? Independence Day, Gulf of America Day should be a separate day because it was a specific day in history. We'll have days of history, would be nice, and then you can have American Day, and that supports like all the vets, all the high level, low level professionals here, memorials type of scenarios, all that shit. We could do stuff like that. In your basic holidays. What I would like is if you took all of the motherfucking abortion rights away from people. If they touch another fucking hair on my dog's head, okay, I want you to do that for me because of all the shit that I helped you with. Tell them to suck a big fat one, and they could have had it to where if it was conscious, then they would have to keep it. Other than that, and we can do the average on that soon. I'll put the numbers through, and you can discuss it with Elon and whoever else about the actual average. And even with the average, though, the problem with the average is that if you do have skewed in one way, a skewed average in one way or another, however you want to say it, if it's a skewed average, and some people are over here and some people are over here, but the average is an average, then you have a problem. You know what I'm trying to say? Because some people are going to be mad about that. So now you can make it at the beginning, right? You can make it at the beginning of like when it's like the earliest time, but then that's a problem too, because you're going to go so far to one side. So it should really be like the average. It should really be like where like the vast majority of people. You know what I mean? Like it should be like literally like the average of like the vastness of people is, if that makes sense, what, you basically have as like your average. So, yeah, I mean, you could basically do it in that way. But as far as, for principle wise, I think that women should have the right for right now, because we'll see how they do, because they are just not opening their legs. They're not having kids as much. Men are struggling in relationships with them. Your average woman doesn't have good relationships with men or women comparatively to male on male and male and women relationships. If the man is like the head of the household, or is like, it's more of a traditional type of scenario. I mean, it's usually women are dictating divorces, they're dictating problems with birth, all that stuff. They're basically man-eating men right now, and it's messing up our entire way of life in America. So, I'm a proponent of women and everybody having rights to an extent. If it's not going to function, obviously, because I love the human race on some level, just based on principle, I would like to see it succeed, because I am a human. I do not like people like that, but I do like, I have problems with the vast majority of people. I'm just trying to say is that principally wise, okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Principally, I don't want to be with, around a lot of people, and I don't like a lot of people. But principally, I want it to work out. I want it to where it makes sense and is functional, right, for our nation, okay? So if you, like I said, if you want to go down this route of talking about all these different subjects and coming to a conclusion on these subjects, the X and Y part, you have to start understanding that there's different syndromes, okay? And this is what I want Trump to do. If nobody does touch my dogs or whatever, he can change it according to the way I'm saying. And I will give you even, based on the way I want, I'm going to tell him, is what I'm saying, that I want it to be known that there's different syndromes. X and X and X, for example, there's just a 1X. I'm trying to think of the names of all of them, but there's different syndromes that are applied to comparatively the usual in XX and XY chromosomes, right? So if you're going to break that shit up, the way you need to break it up and understand is that even if any of those Ys or X's don't carry, okay, the proper genetics in terms of they don't work, okay, for some reason, like even if they were properly made somehow and it got messed up, if that made sense, or if it didn't make correctly, it's supposed to be essentially X, X, and XY, or at least differentiated, the main differential of those two groups, because it's only based on a group. It's not like you're saying that your gender is necessarily male or female for sure, which is the way that he is saying it, but I want it, or as it sounds, but I want people to understand that regardless of what he is saying, or anybody is saying, the way it is differentiated is based on if you have a Y, at least one, then you are categorized as male in science even, because even though it's a gray area, you're still supposed to be more like a male or a male. You see what I'm saying? Depending on how much it works, your Y chromosome, all the genetics, if they're hitting correctly and working and functional, and you have all the right ones for what a stereotypical, traditional, atypical male is, right? Within that realm and range of size and shape and behavior, included in all that stuff, okay? That's what I'm trying to say, man. That's exactly what, the way you look, even if you were going to include that, there's factors to it, You could say there's how superior you are, or adept, or sorry, that shit. However you want to say it. Oh God. However you want to say it. I mean, just just however in depth, adapt kind of thing. If you want to do it based on a differential, comparison, like a different comparison of things in groups. As soon as you have at least a Y, you should be labeled more into. You should be labeled, into more essentially in a way basically into realistically you're into the Y group, basically, where you have at least one Y, okay, versus the regular base, which is just X or X's, right? It really X's, meaning 2, okay, because that's the normal, if you will. So that is the real shit. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that you can have it to where it's, if you have at least a Y, then you are looked at by law as a male. Whether you want to call yourself a male or you have some sort of syndrome, whatever, you should still have to label yourself into the male group, let's say. We can call it that. And if you have a syndrome, that is a syndrome. That is a disability or condition, depending on how you want to define it. If you define it based on disability, which is, how I think you should do it, because on some level it is, if that in a way. But, in terms of you aren't necessarily part of the norm, and it's like a condition, if that makes sense. But if you want to, regardless of the way you want to do it, I think that's the way you should do it. And, as of now. And, you can come back and I'll talk about it more. And I'll, discuss it and whatever. I think that you should also have trans as a illness. It is technically a mental illness. If you believe something of yourself that is not, okay, meaning like if you're acting that way, like you're saying basically you believe in something that isn't about yourself, right? That is a problem, okay? So, if you are trans and that's what you are trying to convey, or that is what's known about you, meaning like you are saying or thinking, let's say, based on what is known about you or how you're trying to portray it as something that you're not, that is trans. And that is, gender-wise, sex-wise, that is essentially trans. So, that is a mental illness and should be characterized as mental illness. So, and how, like I said, we'll talk about how you want to categorize mental illness. Functional stuff, it's functional. I don't really see a problem with functional people that are mentally ill being able to not have benefits. But if you aren't functional, you should definitely get benefits. If you want to keep it the way it's been. And, I think that functional versus non-functional, if you just want to have them have some benefit because they are not normal and that is a condition, you can do it that way, and that would be nice to them. So, you know what I mean? So, I don't want people to look at America as dividing and being too overly petty with certain things, unless it's for a functioning reason. And I think that to have that would be beneficial, especially with the incoming stuff that we are going to be doing to other countries that have taken advantage of us. I like that Trump has used the idea of tariffs, even though the place is tariffed back, and we get more stuff from Mexico and Canada and China and whoever else that has more stuff that we get from them and that we have tariffed. If they do the same, or in the case of China, they did a little more because they know that they can get more money, because we need them in terms of if we're going to keep the same stuff. But essentially, we don't need anybody. The only one that we definitely get a fuck ton of stuff from that we definitely need probably is like, the batteries and shit is from like China, right? Unless you just, want to consistently have like all the fruits and whatever from Canada, and I'm sure, Canadians give you, wood and whatever countries that we need. In the cases that we can militarily steer them is what I was trying to tell him. And then, he basically went in trying to act like, he didn't know, he basically went in trying to act like, like we're going to tariff you, even though they knew that they were going to put the same amount of tariffs on and not go over because they don't want to piss us off, right? And to make them look strong. But at the end of the day, certain countries are not going, like, he tried to act like he went in there and was like, we'll just bomb you or overtake your shit. And they were like, okay, you know, we'll make it stop for a month and yada yada yada, and we'll play ball with you. You know what I mean? That's what that's what they said. You know, so because I've been helping them, like basically the undercover, you know, dude that's helping the country. You know, and I just want a little bit of credit, like, you know, and we can consistently go forward with a lot of credit, and people can know what I did, and then I'll kind of go back to, you know, I mean, it depends on how dangerous it is. If they're trying to draw me out, you know, to like, because they know I'm helping you, whatever. But at some point, I'd like to go and just kind of be the advisor for an unknown advisor, but I don't necessarily tell people all the things that I help them with. But they can literally say that any president I work with is that's who's giving me the majority of my information on what to do. It's me. So, in that way, if they take me out, or at least, you know, we'll do it to where they say that anything I do, I run through him, if that makes sense. So, you know, that way they don't even know who's technically giving the ideas, but they know it goes through me. So, either way, I mean, I don't think that, and you know, and I'll make sure that you guys understand my plans and start giving them out, you know, for the future. Like, that's the way I think we can do it. I'll give you guys a lot of different plans and ideas for the future. If they do bomb me, and they bomb me, here's some things to execute. And so that way, right, that way that I know that you guys will do that kind of shit, and it will make it harder on them. So that's what we're doing with the Iran thing. Like I said, for Trump to do, he said, if I die, or anybody assassinates me, we're gonna blow that shit to smithereens. So we all know that he wants to get the credit for it, he's the president. But yeah, I mean, technically he is the one putting it into power in a way. So for that, I would give him that. But we all know that they've been following me, so it kind of depends on how you look at it, because I'm the one that's giving them the answers to shit. So the direction, the ideas. But yes, I do agree that if you have at least a Y, you should be in the male group. Because that, whether you're supposed to be male or supposed to have what's, you know, inside that group of being male as we're defining it, regardless if it works or your genetics are all there to do that, is kind of irrelevant, because it differentiates from the previous group in terms of the Y is supposed to be the thing that guides all that stuff there. If you're basically going to just break it down to genes, though, then yes, you should be saying that if you don't have these genes, then you're not male or female. But essentially, you can call that male and female and break that up as if you have those genes, right? But that's what essentially the Y chromosome carries all of those genes on it. So if you're saying the Y chromosome like that, I think that's really what I'm trying to say. Is that that's the appropriate thing to say, that the Y chromosome and the genes included with the Y chromosome, the way it's supposed to be, is what you're differentiating from. So that's when they say the Y chromosome, that's what they mean. So you have to explain that. I would like to make like t-shirts and pass that around, so long as number two essentially goes through with it and differentiates that within the law. And they can put some sort of passport or some sort of thing that says, or some sort of thing on their passport, whatever, that says this person identifies as this, and this if they want to, and opt in for that on their license or their passport, I think should be appropriate. And you don't have to essentially play along with it. But the only thing that the government recognizes, right, in terms of on their license, as far as actual things, should be male or female, to the point where you have the proper Y chromosomes, or you're supposed to have them via, you know, you have, you know, like I said, if you want to differentiate it as like if you have any part of it that includes essentially the Y, because the Y is the carrier for them, I guess you can say. And yeah, that's really, yeah, you can do it that way. That's really what I'm trying to say. The Y is the carrier, even though the genes itself are what's supposed to be the thing that starts it. The Y is just the carrier. But at the same time, if you're going to say, oh, your food intake, the way that you know, your lifestyle is and how it could affect things. Yes, the actual thing itself is the genes, but it also includes, you know, whether or not it's, you know, put into the right places and all that kind of stuff. And the Y is something that carries them. So if you want to include that with it, it basically includes the Y chromosome essentially. And that's, I think, how they were breaking it up, even though it's very, you know, it's what it is. So yes, I do think that that's an appropriate, differentiation. Like an appropriate way to separate the two groups. I think that as far as if they are going to give, Trump is going to give no income tax to everybody, that would be awesome. The billionaires would then pay the new minimum wage at $50,000 per 40 hours a week, or over $50,000, however you want to put that, is fine with me, so long as it's not too high. Anywhere from 50 to 75,000. I think it would be appropriate because you don't want to push it too much. I don't really know what the actual number at the top end would be to push it too much to where billionaires would want to leave too much, and people with money, because they're going to have to pay all these businesses, and you want to hold this country together as pretty much as possible for functioning, depending on how that goes. And yes, I do think that if you take income tax off of everyone, and let's say you have a higher sales tax, right? Or let's say you keep property taxes too. That would if you cut all the spending off of the government and you finally bring all the jobs and the money back here, and everybody's winning so much, everyone's going to want to come here, right? And then you can start building infrastructure more jobs and manufacturing really rapidly in this country, because people are going to have, all the billionaires are going to have tons more money to do that kind of thing and provide more jobs. And as long as I think you should hold companies based on how much they make to hiring certain amounts of individuals. But that's just me. I really don't believe in the idea of billionaires essentially running stuff, because they're going to try to run it in the cheapest way as possible, especially with how more robotics are and everything else. It's going to be so difficult, okay? So at some point you're going to want to control some of these countries and allocate a certain percentage of their profit towards hiring, is what I think should be a law. I think it should be inflation proof, all the minimum wage, and I think that it should be based on the value of the dollar. But I also understand that if things are too skewed and all this other stuff, something has to be done with laws to correct that, right? If you have healthcare that's so expensive and all the other stuff as down here is not that expensive, right? It's going to be difficult when you're in the hospital. You see what I'm trying to say? If you have a lot of shit going on. You see, so there's different ways that you can help that, okay? I think you should cut all kinds of government spending and funding of all different types that is useless or not as good as use as, wanting to cut that shit and put it back into the savings for the country, and put a lot into military, that people can do their own stuff, privatize, whatever, all that stuff, because they're getting paid way more. If you're getting paid 50 or more, right, and you're not up to a 75, and if you're gonna do that, like, you're not going to be as hard off. And if you are saving and you don't have income tax too, you're saving a lot of money. If income tax at the start is like 10% and it goes up way up for other people, billionaires are going to have so much extra money, they're going to love it, and you're essentially going to have a situation where they love it so much that they will be able to pay for a lot more people. And you can just tell people that you have to hire so many people. If it's applicable for your business, you have to hire at least, let's say, 25%. Usually hiring cost is usually between like about 15, let's say, to 35. So you do like 25 at minimum, so that people don't have the low 15 for a lot of their jobs, because I'm sure that that's probably skewed more towards the 15, and that's going to allocate more money towards a lot more people, and they're going to have to always hire that. So the more money that's spread around, either way, it's not going to be too much for the billionaires individually to pay, right? As long as their business can afford it, right? And they're making a decent profit. Now we can discuss what the laws will be for the decent profit that they can make in order for them to have to allocate 25% of their makings to their employees somehow. But yeah, I mean, it's basically like, or it could just regulate itself. It depends on how it works. If it worked good and you choose that, I'll let Trump choose that, because he needs to start being presidential on his own somewhat and make his own decisions on certain things, so long as he's run by me, and that's the thing that I approve, and you want to go forward with that because that is the thing to do. I want you to follow what I'm saying, and in this case, you're following it to where you can make the decision on that depending on what you see, and make sure I know what the final decision is, and then we can go forward with that. Because I'll make the defining decision on it and come to you about it, and then you can essentially, you always have in some way veto power in that regard. But yeah, I think that the people are making more money, and even if the economy doesn't fluctuate in the right way, it's going to be very difficult if not, and you need to start you just need to start coming to grips with paying people a lot more. But yeah, those things with the intersex and the trans and the money and the stuff I've been talking about will drastically change the perception of the public in the right period of time, so that you can essentially go forward with the things that you need to do in Mexico and other places. So it's going to be, they're all going to be stuck on, I can't believe we actually did that, and we actually, helped us with the people, right? And then they're just going to be all over the place. They won't even know what to talk about. And when you do that, then you can then blow the capital of Mexico smithereens, wherever they are at, meaning the cartels. So, and you give them 48 hours. You give them 2 days, which is the lowest multiple of days. And you tell them to get the fuck out of there. If your family member's a cartel, leave. And don't be around them, because we're going to specifically target these groups of cartels. And if you are nearby, you are going to be blown to smithereens. And you show everyone every picture on the news of all the different people, thousands even, who are involved in these cartels as heads or high ups in the cartels. And you blow them to smithereens. So then when someone sees it, they can report it to the Mexican government, and they can essentially tell people where they're at, and then you can blow that shit to smithereens. And if the Mexican government fucks up with the intel, you can blame it all on them, because they have to give it to you. That's how I would do, because then their own people will hate the Mexican government, and they'll say that the Mexican government has to supply us and make sure that you know that you have translators who are listening to them say that. Mexican government has to supply us with everywhere where these people are, or we are going to blow up the Mexican government. Now, the Mexican government, on some level. Now, the Mexican government does work with us, okay? Now, you don't even have to necessarily tell them that you're going to do that, the Mexican government, because you want to look like a peacemaker and they're just following your rules, but that's what we'll tell them. And if they ever say anything about that, and it becomes a thing, you blow up that person who said it if you can find out who it was, okay? And because he's essentially fucking up a terrorist organized, whatever the legal thing is on it, but I would, if it was legal, yes, because he's fucking up an entire anti-terrorist operation, and he's making it to where they are going to, mess up the lives of a lot of people if they don't get the right people. So, that's what I would do. I would essentially, do that. So yeah, I would do that, and just have the Mexican government find all these people, and if they snitch, then tell them that they, we're gonna come or whatever, and you need to make sure you're tapping into everybody that you told the Mexican government, and just follow the trail if you can, or whatever you guys can do to figure this shit out. And the best special ops stuff you can do, and whatever, and CIA stuff, okay? Whatever you gotta do, paramilitary, all that stuff, okay? That shit is no joke. I want to torment them, special ops, with the special ops type of people, paramilitary, I want to torment the cartels. I want them to know that they're coming, and they have nowhere to hide, if you can. And then, yeah, you just blow that shit to smithereens. Now, if you can't find a lot of people, blow up, tell everybody to leave this particular city, as it's known to be a giant cartel horde, and you give them 48 hours or whatever amount of time you think is adequate to get the fuck out of town, and, so that anybody who stays and wants to be gangster gets blown to smithereens. So, that's what I would do. And you create a line at the border, and if they come towards the border, and you just keep building that shit, and you see anybody who wants to come to the border to draw them out, if that's the way you have to do it, you draw them out and you hold that line, and you find those motherfuckers, and you send Raptors at them, or some sort of bombs at them. That's what I would do. or whatever you gotta do, helicopters with 50 cows on them and shit, the best weaponry. We're gonna handle this shit a military way, and we're gonna get the motherfuckers. If they try to bait you over, you don't have to follow them. All you do is you send your best stuff, and I would choose something that flies real fast so that if they're gonna try to shoot your F whatever down, and you make sure you just fly overhead and just smoke the whole place. Fire and brimstone. Gone. If you see somebody shooting off an awesome type of heat-seeking missile, shoot flares back. Make sure that they can't get your weaponry of any type. No planes going down. No American deaths whatsoever. As minimum American casualties as possible. If there's a lot of innocents around, and you are telling them via microphone as the plane's flying over to get the fuck out of the way, and they don't do it, that's on them. You give them ample time to get the fuck out of the way. If you have to take a shot, you do it. Do whatever it takes to stop these people. Not another fucking fentanyl death or trafficking death or anything. Coyote related business, none of that shit in this country. They can make their own fucking tacos in their own goddamn country, and if they want to come here legally to make it over here and supply us with something and we pay them, then they need to do it legally. If not, they can take all those flour tortillas and shove it up their fucking ass. So, that's what I tell them. That's not racism. That's just being polite, considering what they've done to our country over the last a bunch of years. So, that's what they've done to our country. So, that's all I'm saying, cuz. Now I'm saying, cuz, that's what they've done. But, that's what they've done. So, blow their shit to smithereens. That's all I'm saying. Not the innocent Mexicans, the nasty ones, the illegals, the ones that are doing crime, and are being around cartel members and heads of cartels. Smoke their ass off of the plane. I'm talking gang, pop a cap in their ass, and fucking dust these fucking people off the motherfucking existence of this planet. Done. No more fucking just black hole fucking darkness for the rest of eternity. There's no hell or heaven. It's culture Christian. They're morally incompromisable type of people or whatever. They're evil. That kind of shit. Blow them off the fucking earth. Go live in the fucking stars or whatever the fucking word is in Mexican. And then, we'll go from there. I'll be putting videos up on stuff to do. I don't see anybody in the running worth a damn for competing with us as a group. Sorry, Vivek. Like I said, it's just, based on trust and whatever. But in constituency, we're trying to, if it doesn't apply to you, if you know what I'm talking about. So I would go be the best you can in Ohio and make sure you get governor. And we're going to kick the guy out of Pennsylvania too. And we're going to get a better governor over there. And we're going to swing that state. And we'll put his ass in jail for somehow being accomplice to whatever they want to say that we did or whoever did. So, like I said, it's all related to that. And like I said, I will consistently help y'all. And all I've done is jokes. Nothing illegally that I have done or not done. I don't even know who's in my phone exactly and all this other stuff. So either way, I'm just talking to my phone. There's nothing nobody will do. And, like I said, this is all just, even if I take a polygraph test, it's not a licensed polygraph. There's nothing that they can do. I won't talk a single bit. I'm not going to say nothing. They can literally try to trace whatever. I'm just a comedian talking to my household to my phone and whoever's on it and hacked into it or whatever. So I don't even know exactly all the exact details of all of this. So that's what I'm trying to say. On some level, because of that, I'm just a comedian. This is all comedy. It's funny to me. Whether or not you find it funny is irrelevant. I'm a satire soldier. It's fucking ironic. It's fucking hilarious. So it's literally hilarious. So I'm known as a comedian. There's nothing, even if I say something realistic, there's nothing that you can say about that because I'm looked at as a comedian. People say things in real tones to be funny. That's what I'm going with. That's my stance on it, and you have no right anywhere else because it's comedy. And if you want me to bring up all the different types of comedy, people say to kill this motherfucker or anything like that, whether they laugh or not. I am a known comedian, all that shit. They can kiss my fucking ass. So, and this, like I said, this is comedy. But I'm about to go take a shit, y'all. I already shit in my pants.